Welcome to MTG Ectoplasm, your home for Spirit Tribal and Magic the Gathering. I'm your host, Dwight, aka DeBlanco, a medium that wears an extra, extra large. You can reach out to me on Twitter at MTG Ectoplasm, or you can email me directly at mtgectoplasm@gmail.com. On this episode, we're going to be talking about SCG Philly. I was there. I had a great time, but we're going to also talk about the decks that made a difference. The ones that, we weren't surprised about, and I got the deck list for you. Also, the shout out section where I'm looking for the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. So I hope you're excited. So we're going to start this episode right now. Now, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Greg's Games. That's right, Greg's Games. They're available at 2103 White House, Mercerville Road, Hamilton, New Jersey, 08619. Now, let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I love shopping there. They have plenty of Magic the Gathering stuff, simple cards, commander decks, pioneer decks, the new challenger decks. They got sleeves, they got deck boxes, they got everything that you need as a tabletop player. Also, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, they got it there. You're looking for pieces for Warhammer, they got it there. Whatever you're looking for, if it's games, they got it there. And when you go, tell me my friend Greg that I sent you, MTG Ectoplasm. So go check them out. Greg's Games, 2103 White House, Mercerville Road, Hamilton, New Jersey, 08619. It's a moral imperative. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now that the pleasantries are over and said and done with, it is now time for segment number one, numero uno. And what we're going to be talking about is SCG Philly. And let me just tell you, what an amazing time I had. We took miles and miles of footage. We recorded, we did a couple interviews. And let me begin by telling you, I showed up late. I blame myself for it. I woke up a little let's say hungover from the previous night. And we ended up going, and the Ravishing Renata went with me. How you doing, Ravishing?
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Doing
doing
good.
all. There you go. So Ravishing went with me, and we ended up having a good time. We saw friends of the show, Peter Valco, a good friend of mine who I call New Dan because my brother-in-law is called Dan, so that's old Dan. Then I got New Dan. But I can tell you, unfortunately, I did not make it in time for the 10K. The 10K, the first one was sold out before anybody knew about it. And then they opened up a second modern 10K. And unfortunately, I showed up late. I didn't get there. And shame on me. Here, I'll slap my own hand for showing up late. And I'm sorry. I really want to uh, show what I could do in modern. But I ended up doing a Swiss, the best of three, and then I ended up going 2-1. I kicked ass and took names, or is it take names and no, is kick names and take ass? I mean, it's one of those two, right?
Something like that.
Something like that. But I did some I kicked something and I did exceptionally well. 2-1. I ended up going against Burn and that was a little, I knew I had the advantage, but the way the young man was playing was tough. And then I played against 8 Whack. I really didn't expect that deck there. And this young lady, her name is Jasmine. She played it exceptionally well. But I ended up with the victory, obviously. 8 Whack is not the it's not even I'm not even aware if it's a tier 2, maybe it's a tier 3 deck, but she piloted like a champion, and I still came out with the victory, where I ended up getting my ass kicked, and I do mean that thoroughly. Let me just tell you, my ass still hurts to this moment. Was Jund. Jund kicked my ass thoroughly. There was nothing I can do. Ragavan came out early, and then came out Ren and 6. Ren and 6 hits the floor or hits the board, and there's nothing I can do. Uh, I did put in prismatic ending in my main, and it did make a difference, but unfortunately, I only ran 2, and probably should have ran 4. So with that being said, that was my experience playing. But they had, like I said, they ended up having the two modern events. They had the legacy event. They also had Commander, which was very nice. They also had a two-headed dragon challenge, which my friend of the show, Peter Valco, and his friends showed up, and they did exceptionally well. And then they had Flesh and Blood. Now, this is a game I do not play. I'm not aware of it. I know of the game, but I've never played it. So I'm like, depending on Ravishing, see if she lets me spend any money, which I doubt. Uh, maybe something I should look into in the near future. But let me just tell you, the atmosphere. There were tons and tons of people there. Uh, my wife got trampled because she was standing by one of those signs or billboards where they were putting your postings or where you're supposed to sit and who you're playing against, and yeah, she got trampled.
Yes, I did.
you were She was playing her, with the Nintendo Switch, the Legend of Zelda, and got ran over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's not fun for you.
No, it wasn't.
All right, but at least you had a good time though, right?
Yes, I did. It was a great time.
Yeah, the atmosphere was great. It was wonderful, and let me just tell you, um, it smelled decent. I don't know about you, but there's several times when you go to these events, there's some people that you just go, somebody forgot to use deodorant, or they've never heard of soap and water. Thank God for the mask for COVID, because I couldn't smell anybody but my own breath. So I was, yeah, I smelled minty fresh. But other than that, the atmosphere was great. Everybody was excited. Let me just tons and tons of vendors. Obviously, the big one there was Star City Games. Then you had Monster, and then 69, and so on and so forth. And these vendors, I'm not going to say they were cheap, lower than what you would find on TCG Player, and some people made up very well in trades. I know my friend Dan, he ended up getting a mana crypt, for a foil mana crypt, for dirt cheap, and then I ended up getting it autographed. So lucky him. Also, he got a batter skull, which I was like, wow, that's pretty art for the battle skull, and he got that autographed as well. Now, the artists there, let me just tell you, there were tons and tons of artists, and let me just tell you, I met with several. If there's a business card right on the thing, I forgot to bring it over, and there was one gentleman who I can't say caught my eye, but he caught my ear, and that's a gentleman named Jeff Lobenstein. Now, if you're unaware of Jeff Lobenstein, he's the artist behind Show and Tell, the little whimsical, the old school version. He also did Recurring Nightmare. I had a fun time with him because he was just playing salsa music. And for those who aren't aware, I am Hispanic. I do listen, I am Colombian/Peruvian. Both of my parents are Hispanic, and he was just playing salsa music left and right. And I had a great time dancing next to his thing, having a great time. And we talked for a quick bit, and hopefully in the near future, he said he would join me uh, on the show to discuss what it is to be an artist, and to the shenanigans that he has to go through to provide us some of the best art and magic. And then, fortunately, I'm actually having a one of a kind spirit flying token set for pre-Columbian age. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, what else can I talk about? I talked about the formats, the artists, the dealers, the atmosphere. You know what? I can sit there and say nobody was a jerk, nobody was an ass. I had a great time. Uh, let me just tell you, I met up with oh god, Corey Baumeister. He's the young man from Star City Games, Gameplay Live. He also works with this young man Ross. You'll see them on YouTube all the time talking about the best deck list. I sat there and talked with Corey for a quick minute. If you watch his show, he was going to bring his Grixis uh, Death Shadow deck, and he did. And he didn't do exceptionally well, or as well as he wanted. But he did have a great time, and you know, he had fun, and I was happy for him, even though he came up from Roanoke, Virginia, to be with us in Philadelphia. And he said potentially, I'm not going to put any words in his mouth, but maybe, just maybe, he may be joining us in the near future. Also, Jim Davis was there, the Pro Tour player, who I call him the master of goblins, and he's a great modern master as well. He plays a lot, and he was there doing his thing. And what I loved, and I love the ingenuity of Magic players. There were live streams there. That's right. People brought little snake type of robotic things so they could record on their cell phone and have their laptop computer right next to them. And they could live stream right on Twitch at the Star City Games event. I thought that was brilliant, and I applaud those people for doing so. So, for those that aren't aware, look online on Twitch. You may find some live streams of the event. Now, that's my spiel. I'd say in my next episode, I'm gonna break down show you my deck and my deck list and my sideboards and why I did it. Um, and what I was really looking for, or what decks that I think were key. But speaking of key, ladies and gentlemen, if you see the shirt that I'm wearing, and if you're just listening, you got to go to YouTube and check. I'm wearing That's Boo Sheet shirt. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We got the website, and soon the merch store is coming. So if you like this shirt, that's coming. And then for the young ladies who are, shall we say, in the Spirit Squad, look what I got here. Woo! This thing is very nice. MTG ectoplasm in the front, and then look at that. Very nice. So if you young ladies are in the spirited mood, we got some nice merch for you coming up right around the corner. Now it's time for segment number 2. In segment number 2, we're going to be breaking down the top decks in modern, the two MK finishes. Now in the first modern MK number 1, in the 4th and 5th place position was Is It Murktide? Is It Murktide end up coming up in 4th and 5th place? As we know, as you see on the screen, it has Ragabond the Nimble Pilferer, Dragon Range Channeler in Murktide Regent. Now, mind you, this is usually what, top 3 in the modern tier section, but it only made 4th and 5th place. I was actually a little surprised and stunned by that. But you know what? The way the format is and the way people were playing, I'm not surprised to see it in the top 8. Now, in the 3rd spot came Burn. That's right, Burn with Lurrus. Now, this is a deck I did play against, and you know what? I had the advantage. I took game. I kicked this person's ass thoroughly. The only reason why I went 2-1 against this individual is because I was mana screwed in second game. Other than that, I had this individual's number from the very beginning. As you know, it runs Goblin, uh, Goblin Guide, Lightning Bolt, and also Boris Charm. Then in second place came what? Living End. That's right. Living End came in second place, and we had Charlotte's Agent, Living End, and Grief that were the key cards in that deck. Now, this came in second place with a gentleman named Avery Ferguson, who was piloting the deck. He did exceptionally well running this deck. Now, the key part of this deck is what? It's just throwing cards into the graveyard or having your creatures destroyed, and then you play the Living End, and then guess what? You're using all your creatures from the graveyard to smash and win the victory. Now, if you've seen the decks that were in the fifth, fourth, and third position, these are decks that are out and out destroying creature decks. Creature decks right now technically are in a real bad position, but Living End found a way to take advantage of this, and it took advantage. They did. Now, in the first spot, in the number 1 spot, I'm not surprised because it takes a lot of money. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about 4-color control, aka Money Pile. Now, this deck, holy crap. I mean, your pockets must be really deep where that COVID check must have came in really handy because you got Omnath Solitude and Expressive Iteration making up some of the key cards in that deck. Now, this is your typical mid-range deck that, you know what, it's slow in the beginning, but it uses creature destruction to remove all your creatures from the game. And then by turn 4, it takes over. It tries to overpower you. And guess what? That's exact first place individual running the deck was Ivan Espinosa. Now I'm gonna bring up his deck list if possible, and there it is. He's running several cards here, and if you're looking, we got some cheap creatures. Nothing overly crazy. And then what? Then if you look at the spells, mostly creature removal. Uh, Cards to sit there and draw a couple cards, give you some uh uh oh god ability to boost up your mana, and then you're running Teferi and Ren and Six. Jesus, that's tough. That's really tough in our matchups. Why? Because Teferi slows us down, especially when we come with Flash, and Ren and Six tends to really destroy our one mana toughness creatures. That really sucks for us. Now, this is his deck list. And let me just tell you, I was actually surprised because I actually saw this deck list before. This deck list is very similar to what I saw uh, Gabriel Nassif run about I'd say about a month ago on his Channel Fireball channel, like Channel Fireball stream or video. Uh, and let me just tell you, he's been running this in the modern challenges as of late, and he says, it's a not a it's a hard it is a hard deck to pilot, but the only time you really lose is if you're not really focused. So this is a deck that you really got to keep your head on a swivel and not be distracted. Otherwise than that, you find yourself distracted, you're going to lose the game. Now, Ivan Espinosa, like I said, ran this in a first place victory. And let me just tell you, he did exceptionally well for finishing. And he was like, yeah, I made it. I made first place. I'm happy. I'm jovial. I'm giddy. And that's basically what he had to say about it. Now, in the second modern 2K challenge, in the fifth spot came Jund with Lurrus. This is a matchup I ended up facing. Not happy about it because I ended up seeing Ragavan early. I ended up seeing uh Ren and Six early. And then who came out? Of course, Tarmogoyf, our good old friend Tarmogoyf. Now, I couldn't, I ended up having prismatic ending in my hand, and I did on. But the problem is that when Ren and Six came out, I had no answers for it. I was short, and I wish that I had some way of dealing with it uh, as quickly as I could have, but it wasn't there. Um, Most people are like, oh, well, you should have, gotten rid of the, Ren and Six instead of the Tarmogoyf. It's like I should have, but at the same time, Tarmogoyf was already large. And I'm like, well, I'm doomed if I do and doomed if I don't. This is one tough matchup that I see that we're gonna us in the spirit community, we're gonna have to try to figure out and retool our deck slightly so we can have a better matchup against John. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say this, Lurrus. I have an issue with Lurrus. There's too many Lurrus decks out there, and I think it's time. I think it's time for Lurrus to be gone. Now in the fourth spot was Hardened Scales with Lurrus. That's right, Hardened Scales with Lurrus. What more can we ask for? Hardened Scales, the enchantment, obviously, that increases our +1/+1 counters on creatures. And then what do we get? Oh, here comes Urza Saga. Well, great. This is a card that increases creature, +1s on the creature, and then also Walking Ballista that can shoot down our creatures. Great. This is not something we want to see, but we can take advantage of it. In the third place position in the second modern 10K finish was Eldrazi Tron. That's right, Eldrazi Tron started making a name for itself. This is a matchup that we spear players we're not a big fan of. Let's be honest with you, one another. No matter if it's Green Tron, Blue Tron, Green Tron, Red Tron, or now Eldrazi Tron, this is usually a tough matchup for us. But I've worked around it. I found ways. For me, my winning percentage against Tron is about 55%. Uh, as victories, not them over me. But Tron can be extremely difficult, and finding it hitting the third spot in third position, I'm impressed, especially with the way the pilot managed the deck. Now, the next deck that finished in second position, second place in the modern 10K is what? Four color control, aka money pile. Something about these control decks, they started making noise on Mass Solitude and Expressive Iteration again. It was piloted by Dylan Carr. And let me just tell you, four color control is a deck that we should really worry about. This is a deck that really takes advantage of just controlling the board state, really controlling the battlefield. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to have to do some real deep search, deep dive within myself to figure how we can sit there and beat this deck and make sure we can retool our sideboard to make sure our matchups are better against this deck. Because right now, the only way to get at this deck realistically is to get under the deck and attack, 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 attack. But that's very simple being said than actually getting it done. Me playing Azorius was not the best idea. I should have got banned. I was hoping to do more interactivity, but I'm going to talk about that in a later episode. But if you feel like you're going to do into modern, I'm going to tell you right now, maybe in your best interest, try going Bant. Now, in the first position, which a deck that really shocked me, a deck that I really did not expect. This is a tier 2 deck, but it's like such bottom basement, you know, uh, used carsman sales type of deck. It's 5-color Indomitable Creativity. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Indomitable Creativity is here. It won first place with a gentleman named Ben Katz. I was actually surprised. I could not beat it. So I couldn't believe it. This deck is very similar to the one that actually won. This is ooh, I'm misspeaking here. This deck is very similar to the previous iterations of this deck, meaning that before they were running Emrakul, and some were running Progenitus. Now they're running what? Archon of Cruelty. That's right. This deck is running Archon of Cruelty. If you're not familiar with Indomitable Creativity, let's read the card real quick. Now, excuse me. If you want to bring it up, please.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, you know what? I'll just read it from there. Indomitable Creativity is 3 red mana and X. Destroy X target artifact and or creature. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals the card from the top of his or her library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players who put exiled cards onto the battlefield then shuffle your library. So basically, if we're going to be honest with each other, there's only one creature in the deck, and that's what? That's Archon of Cruelty. So let's look at Archon Cruelty. Can you just remove me off the image, please? Now, Archon of Cruelty is 6 mana. Technically, it's an 8 mana creature. It's 6 generic mana and 2 black for a flying creature, 6/6. Whenever Archon of Cruelty enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, and loses 3 life. That's a lot. Now, that's your opponent. Now, what you get, what are the benefits? You draw a card and you gain 3 life. Really? By turn 4, you're telling me I can have a 6/6 flyer and I lose cards. I have to give up a creature and lose 3 life? Ouch. Ouch. And that's what this deck does. So let's look at the deck list here. Now, as you see here, we're running 3 Archon of Cruelty. Not bad. It's okay. But then everything else. What in our spells, they're running lightning bolts. Why? To get rid of our creatures. A lot of this here is a lot of creature removal with a hint of counter spells. And then they have cards like Hard Evidence and also Prismary Command to sit there and make creatures or artifacts like treasure tokens so they can sacrifice it to what? Indomitable creativity. Now, mind you, they also have a Dwarven Mine. Dwarven Mine, it's a mountain you come into play, boom, you put a little 1/1 dwarf onto the battlefield, and they can sacrifice that. How crazy is that? So all of a sudden, oh, you know what? Turn 4, I'm going to do what? Turn 3, I'm going to play uh, Prismari Command. I get a treasure token, and you know, I get to do whatever. I'll take 2 damage to that creature or something. Oh, and now I put in dwarf the dwarven mine onto the battlefield. I get a little creature. You put 3 of those back to back to back. You got 3 creatures. You sacrifice all that. You can bring out the 3 Archon of Cruelty in one shot by turn 4. That's scary. That's really scary. Now, I actually saw Louis Scott Vargas, the Pro Tour player, aka Hall of Famer, run this deck. Let me just tell you, it's not a simple deck. It's not really. It's the way I can try to explain it. It's very control-esque with a combo finish. Is it beatable? Yes. For spirit decks, hands down, we can get under it. The problem is when we face these decks at the end, do we have enough juice? Do we have enough at the very end to stop them from doing the shenanigans they're doing? So we actually have to make sure we have the spell queller up. If they're only going to sacrifice, pay for 4 mana, we can use the spell queller. Or if they're going to use all their, mana, make sure we can flash in maybe a Mausoleum Wanderer or have the Mausoleum Wanderer on the battlefield with a Lord, sacrifice it to counter Indomitable Creativity. Let me just tell you, wow, this deck is a tier 2 deck that I did not expect to see be in the top 8, but won the whole goddamn thing. Wow, it's really impressive. So, with that being said, that's what that was in the modern challenge. First place, you have Ivan Espinosa with the 4-color control. And then you have whom? You have Ben Katz with 5-color Indomitable Creativity. Now, I know some of you are going, hey, Dwight, what's going on with Legacy? What's going on with Legacy? Well, don't worry about it. There was a deck that ended up winning, and unfortunately, it wasn't Spirits. It was Selesnya Depths. It was run by uh, Ezra Christensen. Ezra Christensen. They played that deck and they played exceptionally well, and they ended up winning the 10K Legacy. Now, you're going to go, Dwight, how many people were running Spirits? I want to be telling you, there were a couple Spirit decks there. Unfortunately, this guy who was running Spirits didn't make it. Ugh. You know what? Next time, I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to get ready and play some Magic. So now that's the end of segment number 2. Now we're into segment number 3. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the shout out section where I'm looking for the best, the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme. Did you make it? If not, don't have no fear, have no worry. Us, the spirit community, are going to be rooting for you no matter what. So let's see who came up on the shout outs. So now in the let's see what comes up. Okay, in the modern, we have February 1st, Bant 50, Dr. Queller. Good job, Dr. Queller. February 4th, Bant, Dr. Queller again. Look at that, kicking ass over here. Then you have February 15th, Bant, and that's 50 with that Somar, Somr. Congratulations for kicking ass in modern. Now in Pioneer, February 1st, Azorius first place, Pataru. Remember good old Pataru ravishing? No, okay.
No, not really.
They did something last month, and I'm happy to see them back kicking ass. Then you have February 3rd, band finish first place, Antonio Fortaleza. Good job there. The third, Azorius first 5-0 finish, Exaline. Look at that, Exaline. This is the first time seeing you. Don't have no fear, no worries. I want to see more of you. Then, what I find funny and I found great, February 4th and 7th with a band finish using band in the first place finish. Ono Hajami, back to back, kicking ass on the 4th and 7th. Great job. Then, the man, the myth, the legend from Brazil on the 7th, using the Azorius 5-0 REMF, REMF. Happy to see you back playing Spirits, my friend. Then on the 10th, Mono Blue Snow Build 5-0, Hirotasuki. Look at Hirotasuki. I'm happy to see you doing well once again, my friend. Then on the 10th, Azorius 5-0, Cooley 2. Cooley 2. Not Cooley 1, but Cooley 2. Then on February 14th, on Valentine's Day, Mono Blue Snow Build 5-0, Hirotasuki. That's a good Valentine's Day present if I ever could get one. Ravishing. I'll leave that there.
Okay.
Historic on the 15th, Azorius first place. And that's Fruit of. Fruit of. Fruit of what? I have no clue, but he's Fruit of. So congratulations to all those kicking names and taking ass in Spirits. Now, the next time, ladies and gentlemen, you have issues and you're like, Dwight, what do I do? Reach out to me, mtgectoplasm@gmail.com. Let me know what you want to know. Tell me what you want to say. Hey, I'm here for you. That's what we do in the spirit community. With that being said, the next time you're kicking your opponent's ass, make sure they say, that's Bullshit. We're out of here. Good night.